What if I told you that in the darkest years of World War II, America's most advanced guidance system wasn't made of circuits or radar, but of feathers? That the fate of the Pacific Fleet once rested on the beak of a pigeon? This is not a joke, not a parody, not science fiction. This was a real government-funded weapon program, a program so bizarre, so brilliant, and so unsettling that even today most people have never heard of it. The name was simple, the mission was deadly. This was Project Pigeon. In 1940, the United States faced a terrifying reality. The Japanese Empire controlled the Pacific, Nazi Germany dominated Europe, and America West was woefully unprepared for modern war. Technology lagged far behind. Bombs were devastating, but they were also dumb. They could not accurately strike moving ships at sea. Dropping one from high altitude meant gambling with mathematics and luck. In many cases, 9 out of 10 bombs missed their target entirely. The U.S. military needed a miracle, a way to guide bombs with precision, to strike enemy ships that moved, zigzagged, and fought back. But radar guidance was still primitive. Radio signals could be jammed. Computers barely existed. The math was impossible. And then came one man with an idea so outlandish, so ridiculous, that the Pentagon almost laughed him out of the room. His name was Burris Frederick Skinner, a young psychologist, already notorious in academic circles for his radical theories on behavior and learning. He believed every living creature, even humans, could be conditioned to perform complex tasks through rewards and repetition. Skinner had trained rats to press levers. He had trained pigeons to play simple games. But when war came, he saw something bigger. He saw a battlefield where technology had failed, but biology might succeed. He proposed something insane. What if pigeons could guide a missile? At first, the military dismissed him. Feathers guiding bombs? Absurd. But Skinner persisted. He argued that pigeons had faster reflexes than humans, sharper vision than any machine. They could recognize shapes and lock onto targets instinctively. And best of all, they could not be jammed, hacked, or fooled. They were the perfect guidance system. In 1940, desperate for solutions, the government handed him $25,000. That's over $500,000 in today's money. The project was greenlit. The world's strangest secret weapon was born. They called it Project Pigeon. Skinner built a mock missile nosecone. Inside it, a tiny cockpit for pigeons. At the front, a screen projected the image of the target below. When the missile dove toward a warship, the pigeons would see it on the screen. Their job? Peck, 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 directly at the target. Every peck sent electrical signals to tiny wings and fins on the bomb. The more they pecked, the more precisely the bomb steered, straight into its target. To increase accuracy, Skinner used not one pigeon, but 3, each in its own compartment. A democratic guidance system. If one bird got distracted, the other 2 overruled it. It was biological computation, decades before computer chips. But how do you teach a pigeon to guide a bomb? Skinner turned to psychology. He used his own method, operant conditioning. The birds were rewarded with food every time they pecked at images of ships. Day after day, thousands of pecks, endless repetition. Soon the pigeons became obsessed. They could not stop pecking at the target. Ships, battleships, even photos of enemy vessels. Pigeons learned to lock on instantly. The military didn't know whether to laugh or salute. The concept was absurd, but the results were undeniable. In trials, the pigeons consistently guided mock bombs straight to their targets with frightening precision. Skinner demonstrated again and again. Officers who mocked the project suddenly sat in stunned silence as birds outperformed human gunners and experimental machines. But there was a problem. Pride. How could the most powerful military on Earth admit it was relying on pigeons? Generals worried about ridicule. Politicians feared headlines. And radar technology was advancing fast. Why invest in birds when electronics promised a cleaner, shinier future? In 1944, after years of experiments, Project Pigeon was quietly shelved. Officially, it was called impractical, unnecessary, a waste of money. But insiders knew the truth. It worked. The pigeons could have changed the war. Yet the idea was just too embarrassing. The files were locked away. The birds released back into the wild. Skinner was heartbroken. He believed his pigeons were more reliable than any radar system of the era. But he also understood the world was not ready to accept that victory could rest on the beak of a bird. Decades later, when the files were declassified, historians were stunned. Project Pigeon had been real, it had been effective, and it had been buried by pride. The irony? Modern missile guidance systems now use algorithms eerily similar to what Skinner created with his pigeons. Pattern recognition, error correction, redundancy. In a strange way, the pigeons were the ancestors of smart bombs. But we're left with haunting questions. What if Project Pigeon had been deployed in the Pacific? How many ships could have been sunk? How many battles turned? How many lives saved or lost? This is the story of Project Pigeon, the secret weapon they never wanted you to know. Like, share, and subscribe to unlock more untold stories from history's hidden vaults.